So we're working on the Encyclopedia of Milwaukee for people who are interested in Milwaukee history, where they can start their research. It'll be in print, published by Northern Illinois University Press, and it's going to be online, organized by the technological people here at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee.
Once you start to think about all the people who turn to encyclopedias, whether they're online or in book form, you get an understanding of how useful they can be. And this encyclopedia will be both online and in printed form.
We have something in the spirit of the people, in the history of the people, in the character and the culture of Milwaukee. This encyclopedia is part of that ownership and that commonality, that magnet that can bring people, and yet it explains, in a sense, how we got here.
This is a permanent contribution to our understanding of Milwaukee.
Well, I think of it as like putting together a movie, actually. So when you sit in the movie theater and you look at the credits at the end, there's hundreds of people who work on a movie. But it still takes them a year and a half, maybe even longer if you count the conceptualization. And this is a similar scale effort from the point of view of humanities scholars. So it's a large-scale collaboration. It's taking us, we already have probably 40 people involved in the project, and we'll have several hundred by the time we're done. We started in 2008, and we think it's going to take till 2017, and that's really the norm for this kind of project. It's almost a bird's eye view of how the university is changing in the 21st century. It truly is the digital future. It's not just the project itself, but it's reimagining how an institution like UWM does its basic job in the 21st century.
Incredibly rewarding and interesting project to work on, and it's the kind of thing that you can sort of get your teeth into, both intellectually and sort of administratively and in terms of students and so forth, so that there's it's fun, frankly.
What Ching-Su has been for the project has actually been a role we didn't know existed, which turns out to be completely crucial. Ching-Su is basically a translator for us, because I don't think that Margot and I have enough technical knowledge to talk directly to the tech people about what it is we want. So we were able to go through a long process, this requirements process with Ching-Su, where we talked about all the different elements of the project that we wanted. She actually conducted focus groups with potential users of the encyclopedia and laid out what we would need to do. So she understands our vision. And then what she's able to do is to take our vision and turn it around and organize it and put it into language that makes sense to the technical side of the team. So she's basically this intermediary who allows the humanities scholars and the technical people to talk to each other and to organize their visions in a way that makes sense.
You introduced the requirements management process, and neither of us had a clue what that was. You also introduced us to the issue that this was going to cost money. Right.
Yep, that's another
right.
thing. Yep.
And that because on the academic side, we basically do our own research, but we don't account for it. Whereas UWITS, as a service organization for the university, works on a chargeback model.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. So they couldn't just deploy Ching-Su or anybody else to say, oh, sure, go work on this, without a formal agreement. So
we had a certain amount of anxiety to begin with, because we didn't know what we were getting into, and then we had this sudden shock that we had to come up with thousands of dollars in order to pay UWITS for helping plan the process.
If you just slightly go over to the next item, then it'll jump.
Professors really know what they want to do. I mean, they really do, but they just don't know how to do it when it comes to digitalized project, and that's why we are there to help to make their ideas to something that's visible, something that's people can see, people can use, not just the ideas. And I also learned that the focus of two sides are very different. And I think it just takes some time for both sides to really understand what each side is thinking about.
So another thing we didn't realize when we set out to do this project is that we weren't just asking to design the website that people would see. They would design both what's called a front-end system and a back-end system. So the front end is the public interface, but the back end is the system that's going to collect all the entries, track correspondence, make sure that images are linked up correctly to particular entries, etc. And it turns out that that was exactly right. There's a white paper that's circulating among people who are doing encyclopedia projects that says what you need to do now is a front-end system and a back-end system. And the tech people knew that, but again, we didn't know that ahead of time. And what I've learned is that there are incredible professional staffs all around the university. And that's been so rewarding for me to think that I work in an organization that is full of people like Ching-Soo who know what they're doing. And that's really been fantastic to see how good people at UWM are.
We had decided, since we were going to use the Milwaukee and the wave treatment of some of these, that having a contrasting color, instead of a cool tone, having a nice warm tone.
And I think they brought it back to people and kind of showed it, and really tried to make a strategic decision about what website is going to be the best fit for our project.
By myself and Beth and Ching-Soo being educated on what their needs and their wants and their requirements were, that allowed us to present them with key designs and then to try to guide them to the one that we think is going to work the best. And I would have been fine with any of the designs, but because I think we really nailed what their requirements were.
What I envisioned, and tell me if I'm wrong, if this is possible, but I envisioned the mouse going over and each section lighting up as the mouse goes over.
Creatively, they learned to trust us. We weren't sure exactly what they wanted as much as they weren't sure what they wanted. So to give them the options to choose from and to give them visuals, things that are tangible, they could pick up boards and look at them.
I think they learned the process too. That you don't just do one design and it's always going to be perfect the first time, but it can take multiple rounds. So I think it was helpful for them to go through that too, to now see that's how it works.
They were really excited with what they saw, which was encouraging, and that's always a good thing when you're working with clients that haven't worked with designers before. They have things filed in their brains as well as like literally filed in folders wherever you need them. So if you ever need anything, they know where to get it. So it's really impressive.
Also go back and look at search engines and these encyclopedias and these reference sources.
What
See what
has been developed already before major funding has occurred from outside of the institutions is a great deal of infrastructure has been created for the technical part of this, especially, which is the hard part, I think.
So navigation approach or what it is, but is there a way to...
This is, I think, just an incredible union of two departments and a group of people who care about the city, who care about their institutions, and care about the scholarship. And all of that blending together needs the help of those who can give it and who have that kind of care for Milwaukee, both in terms of the past, but also its future of finding commonality for all of our citizens.
We went through this process where we divided the universe of Milwaukee, if you will, into 14 rubrics, and then at these long meetings broke each of those rubrics down into entry titles, and that's where we got our list of about 720 entries that we're going to commission entries for the project.
That's what the Encyclopedia of Milwaukee is going to do. It's going to give people the way to find out about what is distinctive and individualistic about Milwaukee.
So what we need to do is treasure what is important to us. What are the few bonds that hold us together to make us feel part of something larger? And our common history is one of those things.